Hi, so I'm just going to do a little test on three of the best drivers around at the moment. The Ping G425, the TaylorMade Stealth and the Rogue. It's the standard Max in the Rogue ST, the standard G425 and the standard Stealth. So nothing different about them, not draw enhanced, not low spin. These are the sort of drivers that I use normally. And the shafts in them are all stiff, round about the 60 gram mark. These drivers I've hit before. I've done a 49-second test if you've not seen it on the Stealth and the Rogue, and this will probably end up being more like a 49-minute test by the time I'm finished. But I just wanted to go through a little bit more detail about how they all perform and if there's any differences that I know and what you need to know about them if you're thinking about buying one of these. Right, so I'll get on with it then. So I'm going to start off with the Callaway Rogue ST Max. It's a 10.5 dialed down to 9.5 and a stiff shaft. It's a Tensai AV Series 65 Flex S. When you dial it down in degrees, it slightly opens the face. So that actually normally suits me, although you'll see that I can hit it any which way. But normally I don't want a club to go left. So if the face looks square or slightly open, then I prefer that, but not everybody's the same. I think what I'll do is I'll alternate between drivers so I'm not absolutely knackered after hitting the Callaway and then go on to the next one, and by the time I hit the third one I've got no energy left, so we'll try and alternate it a little bit. Right, let's have a go. Not a bad start. Right, so I've got the Ping G425 here, 10.5 again, dialed down to 9.5, and it's the Alta CB55 stiff, so a tiny bit lighter but very similar, and just the Max head, not the draw enhanced one or the low spin. It's funny, I had one of these for a little while, and when I was demoing it, I was fine. When we took it out in the course, I have a tendency to hit it left like that one. I found I was really struggling to stop the G425 from going to the left when I was out in the golf course. And so I ended up changing it. It felt good, I liked the look of it, but it was a struggle for me to keep it straight. It always wanted to go left. I mean, I had to keep putting in things into my setup and my grip and everything else to stop it going left, which I shouldn't really have to do. So again there, it's gone a bit left, and I would say that of all of these, the one that I've noticed does that a little bit more when it's supposed to be the standard is the Ping. That it actually wants to go a wee bit more left than maybe the TaylorMade and the Callaway. Right, so this is the Stealth 10.5 dialed down to 9.5, and it is the Even Flow Riptide CB 6.0 stiff. So again, a similar sort of shaft to what I would normally use. Wow. .281, 4 right. One thing I would say about this before I go on to the next club is in here the noise this makes doesn't sound that different to the other ones. When you're on the course, this carbon face really does sound different. It is a duller sound. I would describe it as a crack almost. It's not a ting in any way. It does sound different to all the other ones. If we're talking about noise, the noise I like the best is actually on the Callaway. That's the one I ended up going for, and that had a lot to do with it, was how it sounded. There was a really satisfying noise, sort of combination of metalwood ting, but also sort of kind of deeper noise as well. It wasn't just tingy and loud and high pitched. It's got a sort of a meat about it. No matter what you listen to on video, you won't get the true picture of how they sound until you hit them outside. And if you're hitting them inside, be aware of that the acoustics of being inside, it tends to make it sound quite similar. So back to the Callaway again. See what we can do this time. Well, obviously not the club's fault, it's gone miles right. It's a good hit. 298 in here for me is really good. 271 carry. The best I've done is 310 in here on the Skytrack, and anything near 300 I'm really quite happy with. In fact, the ball speed of 159 is 1 mile an hour behind my best. I've done 160 in here. Onto the ping again. That felt like it went right. Yeah, 291. 156 ball speed. Felt good again, sounds louder than the Callaway in here. I would say on the course, possibly a little bit louder, a wee bit more high pitch maybe than the Callaway, but not a lot in it. Tailor-made. A bit straighter finally. .289. I've done these, I've tested all these in here before, and I hate to say there isn't a lot of difference. They're all really good. The R&A have put rules in place that prevent the ball coming off the face any faster than anybody else. So it's not as if one manufacturer will really be any faster off the face. There might be differences for lower or higher swing speeds and things like that and how they react. But generally for me, I find in here, very, very similar. And a lot of the time you're looking at how does it look, how does it feel, and then you're judging it from that and what gives you the most confidence to use. So back to the Callaway. Nice and straight. You don't always know you've hit it in here until it finishes. And a bit too much spin there, too high a launch, 3.2 on the spin. Mind you, having said that, 289 down the middle, I'll be quite happy with that, I wouldn't be complaining. So on to the ping again. Yeah, I felt like it went left. And that is what I did find with the ping. Back onto the TaylorMade. Felt like out the neck. Yeah, not a good strike. And you can see the ball speed drops down the minute you don't strike it. This is what the manufacturers are all trying to work towards, is this number here not dropping too much. So my swing speed actually there was probably a little bit slower, so it wasn't as good a swing. But the ball speed dropped again. It wasn't a good strike. And if it's a good design, if in a perfect world, if they could, you wouldn't lose any ball speed no matter where you hit it. The toe, the bottom, the top, the heel, it would all come off at the same speed. And that doesn't happen in reality. It's never going to happen. But what they can reduce is how much speed you lose by positioning weights in different places around the head. That's why they're using a carbon top on all these clubs, because its featherweight design keeps the structure, gives it strength, but allows internal weighting to happen. And that's all they're trying to do with these things, is every year get them a bit more forgiving, get more ball speed off more of the face. So back to the Callaway, see if anybody can break the 300 barrier. I don't do it very often in here. Didn't feel a good enough strike, but we'll see. A little bit off the bottom of the club, I think. 95, did pretty well. Go 159 ball speed again, that's good for me. Let's see if the ping can get up there this time. Already I'm feeling with the ping, I've got to try and not let it go left. I'm already having to feel that. Well, I certainly did that. A necky strike again, out the heel. It's doing quite well. They're all doing quite well. This is what I mean, they're all good. I'm getting similar figures with all of them, to be honest, when I hit them well. It's just the strike that's varying it. TaylorMade now. And a few heel strikes in there now. Again, they're doing okay. What I would say as well when you're getting fitted, bear in mind that you are not a robot and that you will have good batches with certain clubs. So you might start off badly and then you might get into your rhythm. You might play a lot of good shots, hit a lot of good shots in the middle of your fitting. Then as you get slightly tired, maybe your concentration goes, you start to let it slide, and at the end your performance tails off. So you've got to be careful that you're not comparing just a bad batch with a certain club to a good batch. And so sometimes it's good to do what I'm doing and actually flick about between the clubs quite quickly. You've hit your best shot of the day, well then maybe you go on and pick up the other driver or the other iron and hit that when you're obviously on a good run, and see if it makes a difference. Back to the Callaway, again trying to get that through that 300 barrier. That's more, a little bit more the shape I would like to see. Yes, 300 on the dot. And then we look at ball speed 159, quite low spin, 15 launch. So I'm quite happy with that. Those are good. 271 in the air. Onto the ping. Ping. Oh, another decent one with the ping, is it? It's going a wee bit more left than I wanted, but yeah, maybe it wasn't as good as try 157 ball speed, 2 miles an hour, dropped off, 2000 spin again roughly. So the TaylorMade this time, let's see if we can get 300 out of this. It's better. Ah, 296, 158 ball speed, bit of a lower launch. So maybe now the test is who comes in second place, who gets to 300 second out of these drivers. I might be here all night trying to do that. TaylorMade again. Bit right. Never ever goes very far when you, well, as far. Never goes as far when you hit it right. Usually has more spin, more loft is the reason. Right, ping, come on. That left one. Long way left. OB, is that OB? TaylorMade. Looks a bit too low to get 300. Need to carry it further. So let's have another go with the ping, see if we can get out as far as the Callaway. That's a nice looking shot. .297, decent effort. See, if you stay here long enough, I'll get the same result pretty much with any of these, I reckon, if I stayed here long enough. Back to the TaylorMade. Oh, 4 right. I'm going for these, you know, I'm trying to get the 300 out of them, not sparing the horses. Right, ping. Who's going to get the second place? Higher shot, it might have a chance of carrying a bit further. No, that's not going to be, no, it's too high, too high. 2.8 on the spin, 17-degree launch. Back to TaylorMade. Come on, Stealth. Right, ping. Okay, last couple of goes. See if the ping can get out to 300. close. But again, you see, that might not be the optimum setup for me. And if I optimise my setup, slightly different shaft, slightly different loft, something like that, I could probably get the same distance with all of these. But they all feel good. And the thing that's made me choose the Callaway over them all is sound and looks a little bit as well, but mainly sound for me on this one. I really like the look of the Stealth when I put it down. I actually think that when you put the Stealth down on pretty much all of the models, they sit very square, almost verging on open. Now, to the average high handicap player, that's not a good thing, because that looks like it's going to go right. So I'm not quite sure why they would have done that. It won't be as open as it looks. In fact, it looks just perfectly square. But the other ones, sometimes when I put the ping down, the Callaway down, they almost look like they've a tiny bit left, if anything. And I like that about it, but the thing that I couldn't, and I almost would have wanted, I kind of wanted to get one of these, but it was the sound outside that put me off. I've always liked a little bit more of a responsive noise. I've never liked the more of a carbon dead sound that you get with like FT3s, FT5s and stuff like that back in the day. That more solid sounding driver. But some people really like that. Right, let's see if we can get 300 out of it. Too far right, but it doesn't matter if it goes 300. So that's all we're trying to achieve. 298, so that's the same as the ping. So to save me getting into sort of sweaty mess, thrashing balls for another hour, I think I've probably done enough there to show you that there is little or no difference between these drivers. If you get a similar setup that's pretty much suited to you, and that's one of the key things with going for a fitting, is you do assess what sort of ballpark you're in for shaft and loft. And once you establish that, you can then put that into any club, you know, and not just these three, there's other ones out there as well. And they will all perform to a very similar level. Now, you could argue that, well, what about dispersion and all the rest of it? My theory on that is that the dispersion is more dictated by how you're swinging on the day and how your level of skill than it is actually the driver. Yes, I think the better designs lose less ball speed off the face, but if I swing too far into out and get the club coming in from the inside, I'm going to push the ball. It doesn't really matter what club it is that I do that with. And similarly, if you hit the toe or the heel, you're going to get some degree of either hook or cut spin. And the designs are all so good that they will all negate that pretty much to the same effect. So the important thing is get fitted, find out what you really need in terms of spin and shaft, because that could be losing you a lot of distance. And then try, by all means, try them inside. To do that, that's a good place to do it, but try if you can to get a shot of a driver outside on the grass in the open air, so you can really see what it looks like in the sunlight, hear what it sounds like outside, because it's a different noise that you get. So I hope that helps. I mean, for me, yes, the Callaway got to 300, but if I had stood here and thrashed away a little bit longer, I reckon I probably would have sneaked the other ones up to 300 as well. There'd be nothing in it. It's probably just that I'm used to this a wee bit more because it's the same shaft that I use in my own driver, and the other shafts are maybe slightly different and don't quite suit me as well. But even then, we're talking 2 yards, so it's nothing. And as I say, I would probably sneak 300 out the others. So hopefully that's helpful. I know it wasn't massively in-depth in terms of spin rates, launch and all the rest of like that. But I think sometimes people get a little bit bogged down in the numbers, and you just need to find you're in the right ballpark, or get outside, try them outside and see what you think. Okay, any questions about them, put them in the comments, and remember to subscribe and like, please. Thanks a lot. See you in the next one.